attendees are in listen-only mode.
Today's training. And today's going to be a really fun training because we've got a very culturally relevant and a very cool video that I want you to watch. And it's going to help you in the upcoming strategies that we do in building your funnel. So let's just dive in today. And by the way, we have about maybe 30 people out of the hundreds that are in the mastermind that have not gotten Local Analyzer. So I want to just put it up on the screen one more time. I want to make sure you get your dollar trial. Even if you're struggling financially, saying, David, I have literally put everything I can on the line right now. It's just $1 for a 14-day trial, and then it's $39 a month after that, or the two-pay of $99, one now and one in 30 days for the entire year. So want to make sure you get that. If you want to watch the Analyzer replay, just go to greatlink.us/Analyzer replay. I know most of you have gotten this. I'm really talking to the people that are on the sideline. Maybe you've been out of town for a few weeks or really haven't focused that much. But let's jump in and let's talk about what Local Analyzer really did for our business and for yours as well. So we understand that lead generation, right, is really lead kahuna, right? That goes and grabs the leads, and Prospect Rocket will follow up with the leads. But what do we have to convert the lead? I had a really amazing conversation last Friday with somebody in our mastermind that said, hey, I'm really struggling. I'm not making the money that I thought I should be making. I said, well, how many times have you picked up the phone? It's the first question I ask, right? Because that's the first question you should be asking to someone you hire and someone that's following your leadership. He said, I did in the beginning, but I haven't lately. I said, well, in the last 7 days, how many people have you spoken with? I said, 3. He said, 3. I said, well, what do you think the issue is? And he said, well, I'm just, I guess I have to pick up the phone now. I thought, I guess I have to pick up the phone now. Is that what you just said? He's like, yeah. He's like, I just thought that, getting leads and sending emails out, that would really bring in a lot of money. I said, well, it can bring in money, but that's not what you signed up for to be an entrepreneur, right? An entrepreneur, a salesperson, we're building relationships. You can't build relationships over email, right? If you want to get into the e-commerce game when you sit behind a computer, that's fine. But the problem with that is that you're not going to have any relationship. So if someone is cheaper than you by a few cents, you lost a customer. There's no relationship. So what we do as an entrepreneur is we build relationships with our customers. And even though I don't have a one-on-one relationship with each one of you, I think at least feels the fact that you can hear that we care about you. We want to help you be successful. We want to give you the best products. We want to give you the best services possible. So there's technology and opportunity for us to be able to bridge that gap where you can have that at least perception of that relationship and be able to get your message in the marketplace. But it certainly means that you're actually engaging your customers. You're engaging your prospects. You're not just pushing a bunch of keys on a laptop and thinking you're going to make money. So if you think that way, you need to go work for somebody. But you shouldn't be in the sales game, and you certainly shouldn't be an entrepreneur if that's what you're going to do, because here's the bottom line. The bottom line is no one's going to follow you. If you're not willing to do what should be done for your business, no one's going to be willing to follow you. Hire the best talent, hire the best salesperson, but if they see in your eyes and in your tone, the way that you respond, that you're not willing to pick up the phone, you're not willing to call the customer, you're not willing to follow up, you're not willing to take responsibility, then man, go work for somebody else. Because that's what great leadership is all about. That's what being an entrepreneur is all about. So in lead generation, we got Prospect Rocket, right? It helps with that, but we still need to be in the 2-hour-a-day mode. And so one of the things that we find that's a problem with me and you and everybody is we're just not that good in sales. So let's just admit it, right? I know some of you are like, wait, I'm so good. What are you talking about, David? I'm crushing it. No, you're really not that good and I'm really not that good because marketing is difficult to sell. Just face it, right? It's new, it's innovative, it's always changing. There's so many kind of, just think of all the times that you and I have screwed it up because we talk too much or we overwhelm them with too much information, right? So that's why we built the Local Analyzer. It's a lead conversion tool. So if you're not having success now, then just be quiet. Don't say a word and just send them the report. Because that's what the local analyzer is designed to do. It's designed to sell for you. So we got our lead generation. Now we got our lead conversion. And then we got fulfillment with either Rep Kahuna, with either monitoring or building reviews or the sign-in form, all kinds of strategies. Rep videos that we talked about in week 1 and 2. Expose we talked about in 3 and 4. And so now tomorrow we're going to dive deep one last time into local analyzer. So you have the whole process put together: lead generation, lead conversion, and client fulfillment. So I want, as we start off this training for Mo Monday, just to get our focus and for you to get some clarity on how all these things work together. Sound good? Put one in the chat box if you're following me on that. All right, awesome. Good stuff. All right, so let's rock and roll today. First of all, let's start with a few quotes, right? I love this quote. Be so good they can't ignore you. Or deliver so much value they can't ignore you. So, and that's what we do, right? We lead with value. One of our core principles of selling is leading with value. Dreams don't work unless you do. So, remember, there are 3 tasks that we do every day that's work: no relation to revenue, direct relationship to revenue, and indirect relationship to revenue. So when I'm saying you need to know your numbers, you need these 2 numbers. The first number is 12. 12 decision makers you must be on the phone with. In my opinion, you weren't even beginning to work until you've talked to 12 decision makers. 2 is you need to be working 2 hours a day in direct relationship to marketing tasks. It means, like me, you're physically talking to another human being, right? Directly to them. I love this quote. How badly do you want something that dictates how hard you'll work at it? How badly you want something dictates how hard you'll work at it. Isn't that so true? So why I work so hard. I want so badly for us to create 1,000 entrepreneurs that are all at 6 figures. That's what I want so badly, and that's what drives me, and that's why I work so hard. I'm not focused on the money. I'm not focused on the problems. I'm not focused on the market. I'm focused on my customer, because that's how badly I want you to succeed. And I just want you to succeed. I want the person next to you to succeed as well, because we go so much farther together than we ever will separately. So how badly do you really want to build a business? Well, show me how hard you're working at it. Are you willing to pick up the phone? Are you talking to the 12 decision makers? Are you staying focused on what's most important? I love this quote too. I heard and I forgot. I saw and I remembered. And I did and understood. Because make no mistake about it, your time, my time, everyone you'll ever meet for the rest of your life, our understanding is on the other side of doing. So this all integrates together. When you do the work, when you figure it out, when you actually take the time to go through the process, you will understand how it all works. And we had an amazing Mo Monday a few weeks ago. We talked about how you need courage, right? First, everybody says, "Hey, I need the competence," or "Hey, when I get this X, Y, and Z done, then I'll be ready." And that's just one big excuse. We need to actually do the work required, and then we get the competence, and then we get to understand how it's all done. So I had another talk with one of our mastermind members, and they said, "David, you don't understand." I said, "What don't I understand?" They said, "You don't understand that I failed badly in my other business, and I had to move because I just had to change everything, and I'm really struggling right now." And I said, "Okay, well, let's break it down and see if you show me where things have gone wrong. Let me see how I can help." I said, "Have you done the REST strategy?" "No, I haven't." "So why haven't you?" He said, "Well, people I've done business with before, I made a lot of money, had a great business, and, I wasn't able to keep up. And slowly my reputation and the issues wore away at it to where, I left a really bad situation." I said, "Dude, some of those people care about you, though? I mean, do you have a relationship with them? But maybe they're just strained a little bit. He goes, yeah. I mean, they're definitely strained. I said, then why don't you be the entrepreneur you signed up to be? Why don't you be the leader that you signed up to be? And call them and tell them the truth and lead with value. Call them up and say, hey, I want to let you know my business has changed. And I know I owe you some money, or I know I didn't do a good job. And I want to let you know I'm in this new business because I want to make it right and I want to make an impact. And so I've got a video marketing division that I've opened up. And matter of fact, are you in front of your computer? And go through the script with them. But instead of charging them, do it for free, for just referrals. See, people that you've gone where you've worked with, they're rooting for you, right? They probably have more inspiration and more vision for you than you probably have for yourself right now. But see, you're hearing me, and you might see things, but until you do it, you won't understand what I'm talking about. And he's like, wow, that's a great idea. I never really thought about that. I said, then what about your neighbors? What about family? Call them. They've all got dentists. They're all rooting for you. They've all got doctors. They've all got a mechanic. They've all got a landscaper that they know. They got an AC contractor they worked with the last few years. Follow the process. He's like, well, it's easy for you to say, David. You can come up with that, but it's not easy from my perspective. I said, great. There's a third excuse I've heard in the last few minutes. That's another one. He's like, no, it's not an excuse. I just didn't realize I could do that. I'm like, you know what? I didn't realize I could do it either, but I'm not giving you a creative idea. I'm not giving you, a strategy. I'm giving you experience. Because when I failed, I owed friends and family $176,000. You know what I did? Called every single one of them up and I said, I'm sorry. I made some mistakes, and I'm changing my business. And in this business, I plan to do things a lot differently, and my goal is to pay you back every dime. And so I just want to let you know what I'm doing and what I'd like to do to get things started and building a relationship and making things right. And I don't have any money to give you right now, but I do have resources that I can do for free. And so if you know of a business that could use some free marketing and that you think is a really good business, I'm willing to work for free just to really help them and to get things started. And I did 6 businesses, maybe 7, but I know for sure 6 businesses at no cost. I would do certain things for them. I over-delivered in value, and they referred me to others, and that's how I grew my business. So I wasn't having this conversation based on some tactical strategy that I came up with. That's called doing the work. That's called doing and then understanding. I didn't realize how successful I could really be by taking that lump on the head and, the big gulp before I would call and the nervousness. But I picked up the phone and I did direct relationship to revenue tasks. So success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Isn't that so true? Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And so this is the basic, whether you're a dancer or a violin player or a baseball player, whether you're a movie star, whether you're a salesperson, it doesn't matter. Every skill set has a basic fundamental process to it. And it's very small and it's very basic. And when you repeat that over and over and over again, you get those basics down so well, then you're going to be instantly successful. And the trust trigger process that we've trained everybody on is part of that daily rinse and repeat, day in and day out process. Direct relationship to revenue tasks is part of that daily in-out process. There's no crazy secrets going on here. It's effort. It's work, right? But if you're lazy, you get rewarded today, right? You don't have to endure the pain. You don't have to push yourself. But if you work hard, the gift, the opportunity, the future that you have is incredible. So invest in your future. Invest in your family. Take the time, get off the sideline, get to work. Follow the process. And more importantly, those of you that are doing real success now what you need to do is you need to take everything you're learning, everything you're doing, and flip it. And get someone else to do that work for you. And then make them have success and allow them to create a career and working side by side with you. Now let's take a look at some of the people that have done an amazing job this last week. Dan, man, this guy's amazing. Last week I talked about, but this week, look what just happened here. I did my first TSO from an expose I closed last week. Got the referrals, will leave a testimonial, and closed 12 video deal for $3,600 at $300 a month. Just following the script. Thanks again, David. You are so welcome, Dan. Isn't it just incredible? I mean, just follow the process. And Thomas here sold my first audio expose today, $300. So excited. So you can see everybody supporting him. Everybody's just kind of chiming in. And that's the type of amazing support what happens when you take action and you make some breakthrough stuff like Thomas did. So amazing, just amazing. So let's get into today's training by going to YouTube. And this is a training we do every single mastermind, which is one of my favorites. It's called the Happy Video. And so I want to play this for you because, first of all, I think we should all be listening to it like literally once every 4 to 6 months. But number two is this video has literally been the secret to so many people's success in their funnel. When we get into webinars in a few weeks, we're going to talk about warming, engaging, and selling to your list. And one of the things that we all have to do is we have to warm the list up to who we are and what we do. We use the principle of delivering value. And so what so many people in the mastermind have done is they've used this video. It's just a warming video. Just a, hey, I saw this great video on YouTube and about how to get happiness into your business. And it was amazing. I thought you would really appreciate it being a local dentist, right? So, and all people have done is they've taken the title, The Happy Secret to Better Work, and just updated it a little bit. And people have amazing openings, like 30-40% opt-in rates. So instead of thinking about this as a strategy, I want us to just be present right now. Because what Sean has to talk about is really vital, because our happiness goes well beyond the tasks that we do every single day. And he's got some amazing strategies that I've been practicing. I can tell you, it just works. So let me play this video for you. Sit back, take some really good notes, and then we'll go into much more detail after it. So again, if you want to find this video and use it in the future, just type in Sean Achor, The Happy Secret to Better Work. So it'll come right up. So we're millions of views here. So all right, so let's jump in and let's watch the Happy TED Talk.
When I was 7 years old and my sister was just 5 years old, we were playing on top of a bunk bed. I was 2 years older than my sister at the time. I mean, I'm 2 years older than her now, but at the time that meant she had to do everything that I wanted to do, and I wanted to play war. So we were up on top of our bunk beds, and on one side of the bunk bed I had put out all my G.I. Joe soldiers and weaponry, and on the other side were all my sister's Milos and ponies and ready for a cavalry charge. There are differing accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story, which is my sister is a little bit on the clumsy side, and somehow, without any help or push from her older brother at all, suddenly Amy disappeared off the top of the bunk bed and landed with us crash on the floor. And I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had befallen my fallen sister, and saw that she landed painfully on her hands and knees on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of an oncoming imaginary sniper bullet, for which I have yet to be thanked, I was trying as hard as I could She didn't even see it coming. I was trying as hard as I could to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's faces wail of pain and suffering and surprise, threatening to erupt from her mouth and threatening to wake my parents from the long winter's nap for which they had settled. So I did the only thing my little frantic 7-year-old brain could think to do to avert this tragedy. If you have children, you've seen this hundreds of times before. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry, don't cry. Did you see how you landed? No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're a unicorn. Now, that was cheating because there's nothing in the world my sister would want more than not to be Amy, the hurt 5-year-old little sister, but Amy, the special unicorn. Of course, this was an option that was open to her brain at no point in the past. And you could see on my poor, manipulated sister's face conflict. As her little brain attempted to devote resources to feeling the pain and suffering, surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. And the latter won out. Instead of crying, instead of ceasing our plane, instead of waking my parents with all the negative consequences that would have ensued for me, instead, a smile spread across her face, and she scrambled right back up onto the bunk bed with all the grace of a baby unicorn. With one broken leg. What we stumbled across at this tender age of just 5 and 7, we had no idea at the time, was something that was going to be at the vanguard of a scientific revolution occurring 2 decades later in the way that we look at the human brain. What we had stumbled across is something called positive psychology, which is the reason that I'm here today and the reason that I wake up every morning. When I first started talking about this research outside of academia, out with companies and schools, the very first thing they said to never do is to start your talk with a graph. The very first thing I wanted to do is start my talk with a graph. This graph looks boring, but this graph is the reason that I get excited and wake up every morning. And this graph doesn't even mean anything. It's fake data. What we found is if I got this data back sitting you here in the room, I would be thrilled because there's very clearly a trend that's going on there, and that means that I can get published, which is all that really matters. The fact that there's one weird red dot that's up above the curve, there's one weird in the room, you know who you are, I saw you earlier. That's no problem. That's no problem, as most of you know, because I can just delete that dot. I can delete that dot because that's clearly a measurement error, and we know that's a measurement error because it's messing up my data. So one of the very first things that we teach people in economics and statistics and business and psychology courses is how, in a statistically valid way, do we eliminate the weirdos? How do we eliminate the outliers? So that we can find the line of best fit, which is fantastic if I'm trying to find out how many Advil the average person should be taking, too. But if I'm interested in potential, if I'm interested in your potential or for happiness or productivity or energy or creativity, what we're doing is we're creating the cult of the average with science. If I ask a question like how fast can a child learn how to read in a classroom, scientists change the answer to how fast does the average child learn how to read in that classroom? And then we tailor the class right towards the average. Now, if you fall below the average on this curve, then psychologists get thrilled, because that means you're either depressed or you have a disorder or hopefully both. We're hoping for both because our business model is if you come into a therapy session with one problem, we want to make sure you leave knowing you have 10. So you'll keep coming back over and over again. We'll go back into your childhood if necessary, but eventually what we want to do is to make you normal again. But normal is merely average. And what I posit and what positive psychology posits is that if we study what is merely average, we will remain merely average. Then instead of deleting those positive outliers, what I intentionally do is come into a population like this one and says, why? Why is it that some of you are so high above the curve in terms of your intellectual ability, athletic ability, musical ability, creativity, energy levels, your resiliency in the face of challenge, your sense of humor? Whatever it is, instead of deleting you, what I want to do is study you. Because maybe we can glean information, not just how to move people up to the average, but how we can move the entire average up at our companies and schools worldwide. The reason this graph is important to me is when I turn on the news, it seems like the majority of the information is not positive. In fact, it's negative. Most of it's about murder, corruption, diseases, natural disasters, and very quickly, my brain starts to think that's the accurate ratio of negative to positive in the world. What that's doing is creating something called the medical school syndrome, which if you know people who have been to medical school during the first year of medical training, as you read through a list of all the symptoms and diseases that could happen, suddenly you realize you have all of them. I have a brother-in-law named Bobo, which is a whole other story. Bobo married Amy the unicorn. Bobo called me on the phone from Yale Medical School. And Bobo said, Sean, I have leprosy. Which even at Yale is extraordinarily rare. But I had no idea how to console poor Bobo because he had just gotten over an entire week of menopause. See, what we're finding is not necessarily the reality that shapes us, but the lens to which your brain views the world that shapes your reality. And if we can change the lens, not only can we change your happiness, we can change every single educational and business outcome at the same time. When I applied to Harvard, I applied on a dare. I didn't expect to get in, and my family had no money for college. When I got a military scholarship 2 weeks later that allowed me to go, suddenly something that wasn't even a possibility became a reality. When I went there, I assumed everyone else would see it as a privilege as well, that they'd be excited to be there. Even if you're in a classroom full of people smarter than you, you'd be happy just to be in that classroom, which is what I felt. But what I found there is while some people experienced that, when I graduated after my 4 years and then spent the next 8 years living in the dorms with the students, Harvard asked me to. I wasn't that guy. But what happened... I was an officer of Harvard to counsel students through the difficult 4 years, and what I found in my research and my teaching is that these students, no matter how happy they were with their original success of getting into the school, 2 weeks later their brains were focused not on the privilege of being there, nor on their philosophy or their physics. Their brain was focused on the competition, the workload, the hassles, the stresses, the complaints. When I first went in there, I walked into the freshman dining hall, which is where my friends from Waco, Texas, where I grew up. I know some of you have heard of it. When they come to visit me, they look around, they say, this freshman dining hall looks like something out of Hogwarts from the movie Harry Potter, which it does. This is Hogwarts from the movie Harry Potter, and that's Harvard. And when they see this, they say, Sean, why do you waste your time studying happiness at Harvard? Seriously, what does a Harvard student possibly have to be unhappy about? Embedded within that question is the key to understanding the science of happiness. Because what that question assumes is that our external world is predictive of our happiness levels. When in reality, if I know everything about your external world, I can only predict 10% of your long-term happiness. 90% of your long-term happiness is predicted not by the external world, but by the way your brain processes the world. And if we change it, if we change our formula for happiness and success, what we can do is change the way that we can then affect reality. What we found is that only 25% of job successes are predicted by IQ. 75% of job successes are predicted by your optimism levels, your social support, and your ability to see stress as a challenge instead of as a threat. I talked to a boarding school up in New England, probably the most prestigious boarding school, and they said, we already know that. So every year, instead of just teaching our students, we also have a wellness week, and we're so excited. Monday night, we have the world's leading expert coming in to speak about adolescent depression. Tuesday night is school violence and bullying. Wednesday night's eating disorders. Thursday night is illicit drug use. And Friday night, we're trying to decide between risky sex or happiness. I said, that's most people's Friday nights. Which I'm glad you liked, but they did not like that at all. Silence on the phone. And into the silence, I said, I'd be happy to speak at your school, but just so you know, that's not a wellness week. That's a sickness week. What you've done is you've outlined all the negative things that can happen, but not talked about the positive. The absence of disease is not health. Here's how we get to health. We need to reverse the formula for happiness and success. In the past 3 years, I've traveled to 45 different countries, working with schools and companies in the midst of an economic downturn. And what I found is that most companies and schools follow a formula for success, which is this. If I work harder, I'll be more successful. And if I'm more successful, then I'll be happier. That undergirds most of our parenting styles, our managing styles, the way that we motivate our behavior. And the problem is it's scientifically broken and backwards for two reasons. First, every time your brain has a success, you just change the goalpost of what success looked like. You got good grades, now you have to get better grades. You got into a good school, now you have to get a better school. You got a good job, now you have to get a better job. You hit your sales target, we're going to change your sales target. And if happiness is on the opposite side of success, your brain never gets there. What we've done is we've pushed happiness over the cognitive horizon as a society. And that's because we think we have to be successful, then we'll be happier. But the real problem is our brains work in the opposite order. If you can raise somebody's level of positivity in the present, then their brain experiences what we now call a happiness advantage, which is your brain at positive performs significantly better than it does at negative, neutral, or stressed. Your intelligence rises, your creativity rises, your energy levels rise. In fact, what we found is that every single business outcome improves. Your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stress. You're 37% better at sales. Doctors are 19% faster, more accurate at coming up with the correct diagnosis when positive instead of negative, neutral, or stress, which means we can reverse the formula. If we can find a way of becoming positive in the present, then our brains work even more successfully as we're able to work harder, faster, and more intelligently. What we need to be able to do is to reverse this formula so we can start to see what our brains are actually capable of. Because dopamine, which floods into your system when you're positive, has two functions. Not only does it make you happier, it turns on all the learning centers in your brain, allowing you to adapt to the world in a different way. We found that there are ways you can train your brain to be able to become more positive. In just a 2-minute span of time, done for 21 days in a row, we can actually rewire your brain, allowing your brain to actually work more optimistically and more successfully. We've done these things in research now in every single company that I've worked with, getting them to write down 3 new things that they're grateful for 21 days in a row, 3 new things each day. And And at the end of that, their brain starts to retain a pattern of scanning the world not for the negative, but for the positive first. Journaling about one positive experience you've had over the past 24 hours allows your brain to relive it. Exercise teaches your brain that your behavior matters. We find that meditation allows your brain to get over the cultural ADHD that we've been creating by trying to do multiple tasks at once, and allows our brains to focus on the task at hand. And finally, random acts of kindness or conscious acts of kindness. We get people, when they open up their inbox, to write one positive or thanking somebody in their social support network. And by doing these activities and by training your brain, just like we train our bodies, what we found is we can reverse the formula for happiness and success, and in doing so, not only create ripples of positivity, but create a real revolution. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was incredibly powerful. Do you guys like that? Man, it feels like every single time I watch that training or that video, I just get something more out of it. So I want to pause here for a few moments, and I want to give you some time, and let's kind of discuss the importance of really the small changes and how these small changes, and I think that's the theme of this Power Talk, is really the small changes that we work hard at to focus on, doing them over and over and over again, can give us huge breakthrough results. So the first thing is 3 gratitudes, right? This is critical because, and again, I just want to slow it down for a second, is that a lot of us always verbally talk about the problems, the issues, the market, the negatives, and it's easy to do that because remember, more than 70 or 80+% of our day is all no's. It's all failures, right? When you're building a business, it's no to get to a few yeses. And you build on those yeses and you get more no's and more yes. So I think we have to change our thinking and think how grateful we are that we live in a country that gives us the ability to build a business, to be able to work on our own, that we're have this entrepreneurial opportunity. The gratitudes of the health of our family, the gratitudes of the opportunity that we have to spend time with our families because we don't have to go into a corporate environment, right? There's all kinds of gratitudes that we can focus on every single day. Just the gratitude of being in a community like this. I mean, it is rare. And let me just say it, because I'm in lots of masterminds. I've been in lots of groups. I've seen a lot over the last 5 to 8 years in this marketplace. And this is one of the most amazing experiences, just being grateful that you can afford the opportunity, but also be in a group like this. Because if a group like this gets extinguished or it's no longer there, the tools of creating videos are no longer there, or expose or reputation. Just think about that opportunity that we didn't have 5, 8, 10 years ago. So right now, the leveling field is just absolutely ready for anyone to take advantage of these processes. So you can be like 25 years old, 35, 45, 65, 75 years old, and still have the same opportunity as somebody else, right? So the playing field is completely level. We should be grateful for that. So it's like, oh my gosh, they said no, or I called them up and they didn't follow through, I can't get a hold of them, all those things. So I think it's just very important that we think about 3 gratitudes every single day. Now, what I've done is my commitment is to run 3 times a week. And so as I'm running, as I'm stretching, I'm being grateful. I'm thanking God for what he's given me. I'm thanking for the health of my children. I'm thanking the fact that I can go running. I'm thanking for the beautiful day. I'm thinking about my amazing wife. I'm thinking about that really amazing thing. So at least 3 times a week, right? I've got this time of kind of meditation and exercise that out loud. By the way, I don't say it inside my head. I say it out loud. Now, people walk by sometimes and go like, who is that guy talking to? But it doesn't matter. I put this as a ritual to positively change my thinking. Now, journaling. I don't do this well, but I want to get better at it, where I can write things down and really appreciate what happened in my day. Now, typically what I do is I journal in my head, which is at least a start. I've been trying every day after work to go for a long walk and just think about my day and clear my head. So eventually I want to get to writing, and actually Google's got this brand new that I tried last week. It's fantastic. If you open up a Google Doc, you can talk and it writes for you, and it's just as good as Dragon Speak or anything else. So pretty awesome. So journaling, and be able to look back and journal your wins and your struggles and get them out of your head and down on paper. Exercising, obviously really important. We just talked about that. Really important. We sit in front of our computers all day long. We've got to take the time to exercise, release anxiety, get the blood flowing, change the scenery, get out in nature, and then meditation. Clearly, depending no matter what faith you're from, meditation is important, to be in a small, quiet place and have an attitude of thankfulness, to be able to meditate and just be present, to be able to listen to your body, to be able to listen to, if you're someone of faith, the Spirit, to be able to think through and you really understand and get clarity on some things without lots of noise going around and you multitasking. So meditation, for me, it's daily prayer with my wife. That's my meditation time. We spend time together reading the Word. We spend time together talking about what's important to us. And to us, it's a very intimate meditation time. And then random acts of kindness. For me, this is such a blessing to be an entrepreneur because we can do this, right? You know, random acts of kindness can be anything. But, you know, having extra finances to be able to give to others, to help others, is just fantastic. I mean, it's just nothing greater in the world. We have a family that's in our my wife's MOPS group, which is Mothers of Preschoolers. And we were going to Disney, and my wife was talking to a family, and you could tell that, you know, they were, you know, really struggling. And when they talked about Disney, you know, we're in Florida, so we get these, like, you know, cheap tickets and everything, and but they couldn't even, you know, afford that. So we decided we're going to just take the whole family to Disney with us. And I'm telling you, it was just so random, so spontaneous. It was fantastic. So, you know, those are the blessings. We take extra percentage of our earnings every month, and we set that aside for the random acts of kindness that we can help people. So what I want to do is I want to end this, which is about 4 minutes of dead silence. And I'm just going to stop the training, but I want you to spend 4 minutes in just silence, meditation, about what you're grateful for, what you're going to do about your health so that you can stay healthy, and then what you can do to be kind to someone and lead with value. So I'm just going to bring a timer on here real quick, and let's do 4 minutes, all right? And then we'll shut it down. Let's keep it focused, right? Don't stop this training. This is all about you and about your future and what you're going to do to make sure that you make these small little changes that keep you happy and inspired and can make an impact in other people's lives.